Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into something that pretty much every Bitcoin user has bumped up against: transaction fees. But you know what? This is about so much more than just cost. It's really about speed, security, and this incredible hidden auction that happens every 10 minutes on the blockchain. So let's pull back the curtain and see how this whole thing works. Oh, you know the feeling. We've all been there. You send some Bitcoin, you're refreshing the Block Explorer, and nothing. The minutes start to feel like hours, and your transaction is just hanging out there, totally unconfirmed. It is so frustrating, right? Well, today we're going to figure out exactly why that happens and, even better, what tools you have to get that transaction moving again.
You know, the best way to picture this is to think of a highway. Every 10 minutes or so, a new bus pulls up. That bus is a new block of transactions. But here's the catch. That bus has a limited number of seats, what we call block space. And there are almost always way more transactions trying to get on that bus than there are seats available. And just like that, you've got a digital traffic jam.
So, who gets to decide who gets on the bus? That would be the miners. You can think of them as the toll collectors for this highway. And like any business, their goal is pretty simple. They want to maximize their profit. So they are going to look at all the waiting cars, all the transactions, and pick the ones that are paying them the most to include in their block. This right here is the key to understanding the entire system. And this is the part that trips a lot of people up. A Bitcoin transaction fee, it isn't like a fixed price tag at a store. You're not just paying a set toll. No, you're actually participating in a live, open auction. Every time you send a transaction, you are bidding against literally everyone else in the world for a slice of that very limited block space. So how do miners actually judge your bid? Well, here's the thing. They honestly don't care if you're sending $1 million or just $5. What they really care about is how much you're paying them for the space your transaction takes up. This is called the fee rate, and it is the single most important number to understand. It's your total fee divided by the size of your transaction. And you'll usually see this measured in Satoshis per virtual byte, or what everyone just calls sats per vbyte.
Okay, let's make this real. Look at these two transactions. At first glance, transaction A looks like the better deal for the miner, right? It's paying a $5 fee, but it's a big, bulky transaction. Now look at transaction B. It's only paying a $1 fee, but it's super small and efficient. So when you do the math and look at the actual fee rate, transaction B is paying double for every byte of space it uses. So which one gets picked? A miner is going to choose transaction B every single time. It's just a more profitable use of their limited space.
And this is exactly why getting the fee rate right is so important. If you misunderstand the units, or you just see a fee somewhere and copy-paste it, you can make a very expensive mistake. The source material warns that you could accidentally overpay by 1,000 times or more. The best advice? Let your wallet handle the fee estimation, or just be incredibly careful when you set it manually. All right, so you get it. You have to bid competitively. But what if you mess up? What if you set your fee rate way too low and now you're stuck in that digital traffic jam we talked about? Is your transaction just lost in limbo forever? Well, fortunately, the answer is no. There are actually ways to cut in line. The solution is something called fee bumping, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a way to increase the fee on your transaction after you've already sent it. This makes it way more attractive to miners and helps it get pulled out of the mempool, which is basically just a giant waiting room for all the unconfirmed transactions. Now, there are two main tools in your toolbox for this. The first is called Replace by Fee, or RBF. This one's for the sender. You basically create a brand new, conflicting version of your original transaction, but this time with a higher fee. You're telling the miners, hey, ignore that last one, take this much better one instead. The second tool is Child Pays for Parent, or CPFP. Now, this one can be used by the receiver. Even though the funds aren't technically confirmed yet, they can create a new child transaction that spends that incoming money. By slapping a really high fee on this new child, they make the parent and child together a super attractive package deal that a miner will want to grab. So each of these has its own trade-offs. RBF is super efficient because you're just swapping one transaction for another. But here's the catch. The sender had to plan ahead and check the opt-in RBF box when they first sent the transaction. CPFP, on the other hand, is amazingly flexible. It works on any transaction, no pre-planning needed, but its downside is efficiency. You're actually adding a whole new transaction to the blockchain, using up more of that valuable block space. Okay, but these tools are powerful, right? So the network has rules in place to stop people from just spamming it with junk. And this is a huge but,
a really clever attacker can actually weaponize these very rules against you.
And this brings us to a really fascinating and pretty serious vulnerability called a transaction pinning attack. This is where an attacker maliciously uses the network's own safety rules to stop you from fee bumping your transaction. They effectively pin it in that low-fee, unconfirmed state, and there's nothing you can do.
So here's how an attacker, let's call her Mallory, could pull this off. Let's say Alice sends a low-fee transaction to Mallory. The second Mallory sees it, she starts creating a whole bunch of tiny, cheap child transactions that spend that same money. She just spams the network with them until she hits a built-in safety limit on how many related transactions can exist. Now, when Alice realizes her fee was too low and tries to use CPFP to fix it, she can't. The network's own rules block her from adding yet another child transaction. Her original payment is totally pinned, and she's locked out of the exact tool that was designed to help her.
Now, why is this such a big deal? For a simple payment, it's a huge annoyance. But for time-sensitive smart contracts, like the ones that power the Lightning Network, an attack like this can be absolutely catastrophic. In these protocols, if a transaction doesn't confirm by a specific deadline, an attacker could potentially steal funds. So yeah, pinning attacks are a very, very real threat. So what do? Well, the Bitcoin developer community is in this constant cat-and-mouse game against these kinds of vulnerabilities. They're always working on building stronger defenses to protect users and make sure these advanced protocols are secure. And one of the most clever defenses to come out of this is a special rule called CPFP carve-out. Think of it like a secret escape hatch that's been built right into the network's code. What CPFP carve-out does is create a very specific exception. It basically says, okay, even if an attacker has hit the limit for child transactions, the other person in the contract, our honest user Alice, is allowed to add just one more small child transaction. It gives her one last shot to fee bump the parent and escape the pin. It's a very targeted solution, designed specifically to protect protocols like the Lightning Network. But the challenges don't just stop with pinning attacks. As we start to look into Bitcoin's really long-term future, a future where transaction fees are everything, other potential problems start to come into focus. One of these theoretical risks is called fee sniping. So imagine a miner sees a transaction with a massive fee pop up. Instead of building on the newest block like they're supposed to, they might be tempted to try and remine the previous block, just so they can grab that juicy high-fee transaction for themselves. It's like trying to rewrite a tiny piece of history. And if it happened a lot, it could make the chain unstable. The good news is, we already have a really simple and elegant defense for this. Most modern wallets use a feature called lock time. They essentially tell the network, hey, this transaction can only be included in the next block or any block after that. This little trick makes it impossible for a fee-sniping miner to pull that transaction into an older, rewritten block, which makes the whole attack way less profitable and helps keep the chain secure. And all of this stuff, the auctions, the attacks, the defenses, it's all becoming more and more critical every single day. You see, the reward that miners get for creating a block, the block subsidy, is designed to get cut in half about every 4 years. Eventually, it will go all the way to zero. And when that day comes, transaction fees will be the only thing paying miners to secure the network. They're going to make up pretty much 100% of a miner's income. Which, of course, leaves us with the ultimate multi-trillion-dollar question for Bitcoin's future. This fee market we've just been talking about, it isn't just about getting your transaction confirmed today. It is the bedrock of Bitcoin's long-term security. So as that block subsidy slowly fades away, will this wild competitive auction for block space be enough to pay for the security of the entire network for the next 100 years? That is the big question. What do you think? Thanks for tuning in.